All right, hello everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Sarah. I'm the public health nurse for the town of Millis. And
My name is Ann. I'm a volunteer with the Board of Health as well.
and we're here today to talk about the signs of dehydration and heat stroke with the temperatures reaching the upper 80s, close to 90 lately, and the humidity being so high. It's pretty important to learn the different signs and symptoms to be able to differentiate, and we're also at the end going to talk about some prevention strategies for any heat-related illnesses. So like I said, we're going to learn to spot the signs and symptoms of dehydration. We'll also learn the signs and symptoms of heat stroke and talk about the prevention strategies. So dehydration is when your body loses more fluid or water than it's taking in, and it becomes harder for your body to carry out its normal functions with the loss of water or fluid.
So the reason we did this presentation is the heat. And you've probably noticed there have been some high-profile people who have had dehydration. The Prime Minister of Israel was hospitalized. There was a policeman in New Hampshire who was used to doing hiking. He's done 44 of the 48 4,000 footers, and he passed out. He had more than dehydration. We'll go into heat stroke. The reason that it's so important for the older people, there are several reasons. One is older people have less fluid volume in their bodies, and they have a decreased sense of thirst. Many older people are on fluid pills that cause excess urination, so we want to be sure that people are aware of these things. And older adults also have a decreased sense of thirst. So you need to keep ahead of your loss of fluid. Don't wait until you're really thirsty to have a drink.
So what are some causes of dehydration? I know Ann just talked about not drinking enough fluid, especially during hot weather. Excessive sweating, so if you're outdoor doing yard work or going for a walk or any sort of exercise, that can cause dehydration. Certain illnesses, such as vomiting, diarrhea, certain infections can also cause you to become dehydrated. And certain medications, like Ann touched upon, like diuretics, things like that are supposed to help you get rid of more fluid, but in the extreme heat can actually cause dehydration sometimes. So some of the early warning signs are dry mouth or feeling thirsty, dizziness, lightheadedness, headache. Those all can be signs of dehydration. And then watching your urine output. So if you notice that you haven't really gone to the bathroom in a while, or that it's when you're going it's really dark, that's a sign of dehydration as well.
Mm-hmm. And these symptoms start slowly, but they progress pretty rapidly. So if you're feeling any of those, you need to get inside, get cooled off and drink. And things that you would, water, diluted fruit juice, and, take it easy. And you may notice that, your pulse is higher. If you take your blood pressure may be lower. So you need to be very aware of that.
Some of the later symptoms that are often associated with a more severe dehydration, oftentimes people can become confused or disoriented or very, very sleepy. Fainting is another sign, a later sign. Rapid heartbeat, low blood pressure, like Ann had mentioned. If you have not urinated at all, that's a sign that it could be much more severe dehydration. And then also rapid breathing.
And again, if you have any of these things, you need to act on it right away. Or if you see somebody you're with who has experienced some of those symptoms, then be sure you get them something to drink.
So for treatment, mild cases, start drinking more water. If you've had excessive sweating from exercise or being outside, sports drinks can be helpful to replace electrolytes. You want to avoid sugary drinks, drinks with caffeine, and drinks with alcohol. And then severe cases can oftentimes need to be seen by a doctor or in the ER for IV fluid hydration. If you're finding that your dehydration is worsening, always call your doctor and get advice from them as far as what further treatment you need to do. And then if you are unable to keep any fluids down, that's another sign that you need to call your doctor.
And cool towels can help too if you see somebody, and if they're getting worse, as Sarah said, that's the time to call 911 because they really need to be evaluated right away.
So for heat stroke, what is heat stroke? This is considered a medical emergency. It's when your body is unable to regulate its own temperature. Oftentimes your sweating mechanism in your body stops working, so you're unable to cool yourself down. It happens usually from prolonged exposure to higher temperatures mixed with the humidity oftentimes makes it harder for your body to cool off. When someone is experiencing heat stroke, their body is rising in temperature very quickly, and they're unable to cool. If left untreated, it can cause permanent disability or even death.
So if you notice somebody is starting to lose consciousness, don't try to get them to drink because they won't be able to. That's a 911 call, absolutely. So.
Some of the symptoms to look out for with heat stroke is actually a lack of sweating. Red, hot, dry skin can be a warning sign. Throbbing headaches, again, the confusion, altered mental status oftentimes can be a symptom. Loss of consciousness, slurred speech. Your body, you can end up having seizures from heat stroke. You will have a very high body temperature. Oftentimes, if you're out with somebody, you probably don't have a thermometer, but their body temperature usually rises greater than 103. Rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, nausea and vomiting can also be a warning sign. Treatment, always call 911 if you think someone is suffering from heat stroke. As it is, like you said, a medical emergency. You always want to stay with the person until help arrives. You want to make sure you're moving the person to a cooler, shaded area and remove any excess clothing that they may have on. And to cool them down, try, if you can, use cool water, cool cloths, putting them in behind their neck, in their armpits, in their groin. Those are all ways to help cool the person off. And you may not have a fan, but somehow circulating air using whatever you can, papers, whatever, just to try to circulate the air around them.
And as Sarah said, stay with the person and be sure that, that they know you're there, and because it's frightening for both the person who's experiencing it and the person with them. So fan them, just as Sarah said, with anything that's around. And try to get them into some place that's air conditioned if you can. If they're unconscious, you just have to do the best you can with what you have, and wait for the EMTs.
So prevention, and this goes kind of for any heat-related illness. You want to make sure you're wearing light colored clothing when you're out in the sun. Oftentimes a wide brim hat will help keep you cool. Always use sunscreen, SPF 30 or better is what is recommended. Drinking plenty of water to stay hydrated. Like I said, sports drinks, if you're going to be doing an excessive sweating, can be helpful as well. However, with your fluid intake, always check with your doctor, especially there's certain medical conditions that you can also cause fluid overload if you're drinking too much fluid. So if you have any certain medical condition where you have to watch your fluid intake, then it's important to talk to your doctor about how much you should be increasing it in hot and humid weather. Again, you want to avoid caffeine, alcoholic beverages, and limit your time outdoors during these extreme heat events. So it's best to be outdoors early AM and then after sunset. And then if you do not have air conditioning in your home, it's important to seek it out in other places during those really hot times during the day. So libraries, shopping malls, community centers, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And again, light clothing and hats are very important. Wide brim hats, very important. So, and malls are a good place to walk too. As you can always get something to drink there. So.
Any questions?
Children are at risk as well, but children and older persons are at risk. So, but it's know the places around. If you don't have air conditioning in your home or nearby, where there is an air-conditioned area. So, the library's great. It's open till 8 o'clock every night. And if you want to go for a walk, do so early. 7, 8 o'clock if you're up is really the best time. And take your bottle of water with you. So, have you ever experienced anything like this, or been with anybody who's been?
I have seen people get dehydrated because they don't want to drink water, they don't want to wear a hat, they don't want to pay attention.
Well, I would expect that's just, the key, I feel, to all of this is prevention. I mean, if you know what to do, then you're that much ahead of the game. So, but these websites, this will be all on the presentation, but these websites are great. They have a lot of information, and we have some information here about the differences between dehydration and heat stroke and some interventions. So,
Have there been many incidences here in Millis of people having to call 911 for dehydration?
I don't know, but I expect so, because it's been on the news that the emergency room visits have really gotten much higher during this excessive heat period. So.
You would think that humidity, because it's wet, right, would kind of help you. No, but it doesn't.
It really does.
Yeah, it makes I think the humidity makes it a little bit harder for your body to, hold on one second, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you would think so, but it doesn't really help. So it almost makes the breathing a little more difficult. I don't know if you've experienced that, if you go out and it's really humid, but But if you're going to a beach, which is great in this weather, go and be in the shade, if you can. Otherwise, you're really at risk in that direct sun. So.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.